Today is Saturday. We are local in the outer realms of the Tribog area. Sorry. If I sound off, it's because I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. But with the peak of fall colors and all that, I'm not going to stay in. We're checking an area that we haven't been in a while, and a couple of thoughts. They may not be popular, but you know how I feel about that. You don't like it? Oh well. That being said, I'll speak my mind and we'll see what we find. Even rhymes, even without intently doing that. And let's get moving, see what we come across, and we'll go from there. Thanks. I'll leave that to you gentlemen, though. Anyway, I'm going to take a segment break and cover some ground. Get over on the other side of I'm just going to call it a wetland. I don't really know. It doesn't qualify as a pond as much as just a wetland. And we'll be back in a few. Not sure why, but whenever I get into this stretch, other than my crunching through here, it gets very quiet. Very quiet indeed. And this segment's going to be a lot of that. More chaga mushrooms. Not sure what kind of mystery tree barnacle that is. These are good for tinder. I've said that before, but if you're out camping in like bush camping and you're working off the land, that's some good fire starter stuff. Never good to bear repeating. Keeps things fresh in your mind when you might have that particular need. And you can see we're on the other side now. We kind of wandered over. So we're kind of paralleling the pond. And up behind us, I just had a thought for an overnight in here. Or a night op at the minimum. There are some good spots where we're going right now where you can actually kind of parallel stake out the pond and the greater, wider open. And the like. One example of a stakeout spot. Kind of semi-obscured, but you can sort of see out. If you go down, there's a couple of holes over there where you can see out too. I don't know if you guys can hear it. My voice sounds froggy as hell, though. Trying very hard to keep a vision of a large bowl of soup to deal with my cold out of my head while I'm working. If you call this work. I am going to take a quick segment break because I'm going to go down there and get some nice shots of that and this, and then we will be back. We're here now. I've never really been able to decide whether or not this is a worthy fishing spot or not, because it's not really that deep in a lot of places, but there's a lot of weeds. I don't know how deep it gets out there, but it's definitely a good bird watching place. But it's also a decent thinking place. You just got to watch where you step, because if you're off the rocks, the mud is very squishy and you start to sink, which, yeah, I'm sure you just heard that lovely suction sound. So you just kind of stay on the rocks or the more solid ground as we look around. But you can see it really isn't that deep unless you factor in if it's like really muddy under there. There's a lot of rocks, so I don't think so. But if you were to find it was mud, it's definitely the case in Vermont that if you were to try to walk into this and it was mud, you'd find yourself up to your thigh very quickly. Been there, done that, and it's not the funnest thing you'll ever do. Yeah, so basically the bulk of the hike so far has been, we started out somewhere over there and kind of worked our way around the pond, working this way. And once you're on the backside back here, it's actually surprising how much more quiet it gets, minus humans talking out here. But you can still hear vehicles off in the distance that probably shouldn't be in the wildlife management area, but it is what it is. I've seen a deer ketter too as well, which kind of always is a downer because they suck, literally. Anyway, I sent a message to the individual in question about the potential of a night op, kind of like a night documentary out here. See what wanders by, because it is that time of year when you start listening and a little bit more signs of life, if you know what I mean. You definitely have the habitat for it. If Culls ends up doing his project, it'd be interesting to see where he ends up doing that. Adirondacks is a good choice if you have the right spot, and he lives up there, so he probably knows a spot or two. I don't. In Vermont, I know a spot or two. It's just a matter of getting up there over time because... But then again, I have had a period where I did have activity and I did follow it. I never tried a documentary because you never really know how reliably your quarry is going to be around. It's kind of the nature of the mystery and why it is one. Little philosophical thought in a nice, pretty place. And yeah, I kind of find it a shame that, okay, there's an actual fish right there, so you got little minnows in there. No, I take it back. That's a salamander, kind of bopping around in there. That's the thing. I think you're going to probably find more amphibians in here than like trophy bass and the like. Unless they're hiding way the hell out there. Might be interesting to cast out to like that area right out there. See what nibbles, if anything. I don't see a lot of fish though. I did try that a couple years back, just as a story time thing for a minute. That they trying to find fish in a pond like this, I ended up bothering more bullfrogs than anything else. That's why I say that. It's a bummer that you start to see people looking at like TV show actors as experts, because that's kind of the myth. I'm gonna go philosophically, not politically, into a rip on Hollywood. You have all these celebrities with all their causes trying to act like they're philosophically high and mighty. It's like you're a fucking entertainer. That's what you do. Jay Leno was quoted right after 9/11 putting things in perspective, saying, we are just the milk and cookies. And there was a guy, I'm not his biggest fan, I'm not his biggest detractor, but I was like, there in that moment in time, the guy had enough humility and presence of mind to point out what's basically true. Hollywood is there for distraction. That's really all they are. Sorry, not their biggest fan. Again, they've turned to shit and they haven't fucking put out any valid... Let's just watch that salamander. He's like trying to hide in the freaking weeds from me. I still see you, little buddy. Well, there's his buddy. Okay, there's a few of those things in here. Okay, cool. Signs of life. Those aren't eastern newts. Those are something else, though. Different color. About the same size, though. So here's a thought. If Bigfoot's in here and he's looking for a food source, like especially this time of year, you run into the little... Every now and then I've shown you like the orange eastern newts. I wonder if that'd be a food source, because I mean they're here, there's plentiful. It's not a lot of meat on them, but I mean I wouldn't eat them. I bet they're fishy as all hell, but you never know what a hungry monkey man might eat out here. You know, he would know more than I would. Maybe Michael Merchant could like lend to that. He's more of a naturalist than I am. But, and since I brought him up, shout out to him and Lady K. Hopefully they're doing well. Anyway, I'm going to move on and see where else this hike takes me today and see if there's any signs of life. And should a certain Mr. Lucci get my DM on Facebook about maybe doing a night op out here and bringing company, I'd be open to it. Give me a shout back, and we're going to take a second break, and again, we're going to cover some ground. We'll be back in a bit. Find ourselves at that segment again. The cold is getting the better of me slowly over the day, so I am making my way towards an exit point on the far end of the trail. Well, it's not a trail. It's more like a glorified game trail and terrain that I know well enough that I know how to maneuver it. Unless something radically cool happens on the way out, moose sighting, them sighting, like, subscribe, send the usual banter of commentary, good, bad, or indifferent. And next week is next week. I don't have a plan as of yet. We'll see where I am then. I'll be out, just not sure where. Until then,